Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. It is stormy as hell, and we are loving it. For those of you who didn't catch me on stream doing raid level 1 through 100, we are at 100, and we do have a couple different compositions to go over. Let's go ahead and dig in. All right, guys, so we do have a couple different compositions that we did come up with on stream. I'll go ahead and show them to you first, and then I'll kind of show you the clear that we got with them. We do have a solo and a duo comp, so I will show that off first. The duo composition is probably more reliable than the solo composition. My Oberon is not 120 yet, but it did seem like I was relying on the counter in order to survive when I was trying to do the Oberon solo composition. So I kind of solved that by running Murmur. Again, Murmur was a unit that we had kind of talked about running as a duo comp. Of course, Bells on Oberon. We found Summer Kill Phase TMR. I believe this is Summer Kill Phase TMR. It might be Summer Elserel's TMR. But giving Shell an AP was really good for Murmur's survivability against Aigaion. And then, of course, we are running the Astrologian VC. I turned off all abilities on Murmur, except for her defense destroyer. So she basically just spams defense down. Like, that's her utility here, is she spams defense down and she spams a 2-hit attack for Oberon to chain with. Now, in terms of Oberon soloing, if my Oberon was 120, I think I could probably solo more reliably. I don't think a change in Vision Card or a change in Esper would actually help him solo any better. I think it really just comes down to, you know, you're relying on that counter to proc, especially if you're not level 120. Most of the time it will proc, but you're going to have that one off time where it doesn't. So you're probably going to be better off just duoing the raid most of the time. Even if you had like Eileen and Oberon, I'm sure you could probably pull it off. No surprise, Dark Slash was a very viable composition. I did run a Dark Slash composition utilizing Lamaiga, Dwayne, Stern, and Ruin Stern. Triple trick, of course, on Stern. You could easily replace Stern with Venera, though. I did run with Venera. And Lamaiga, you know, has access to Sub Samurai, so he has access to Hien, even with 50 Bravery. Like, my Lamaiga doesn't even have capped resonance with Omega. Like, he is a wreck. Like, I was not planning on using Lamaiga today. He doesn't have bravery. He doesn't have faith. He's just like, you know, he's there. He has his abilities leveled. That's about it. He was able to hit about an 8K Hien with this VC configuration, and you guys can probably figure out a different vision card configuration. If I'm being honest, this was almost literally just a copy Dark Slash composition from a previous raid where I was like, oh, I'll just throw Lamaiga in and it'll work, and it worked. So Dark Slash, quite easy. I did have some problems with Rainbow Slash, and I did want to get different bonus units into the compositions. So with Rainbow Slash, I wanted to get Zombie Ryu in, and I found that the synergy with Gilgamesh, Cloud, Laswell, and Ryu, even though they all deal kind of high damage, it was a little difficult to get perfect. A lot of the times I found that slot 4 for your units that have access to high range attacks is going to be really valuable. So for example, putting Gilgamesh in slot 4 enables him to buff and not use Kotetsu right away. I had to take Cloud's movement abilities off, because if you do have a lot of high movement and high range attacks, your units will just start attacking the adds right away instead of buffing. If you do have units where you have a high range attack that you want to keep on, I would recommend slot 4. Slot 4 definitely seems to be the kind of safe place to be. I did manage to get a wind composition to work. So this was solely chaining wind. It was Little Leela, 2B, Varouche, and Tifa. Tifa, surprisingly, the big damage here was actually coming from Varouche. Varouche actually is a monster damage dealer in PvE content, and between him and capping damage with 2B, and kind of Tifa setting up chains, it actually does work out a little bit. I was quite surprised that we were able to get the wind formation to actually function. I did try to do a Rainbow Pierce team, and I really wanted to do a Rainbow Pierce team without Oberon. And I tried a variety of different Pierce compositions, and I just could not get the Pierce sort of compatibility that I needed. Whether or not it's because we're gonna have to kind of wait to get Kane EX, or whether or not I just didn't try hard enough, or maybe I needed to use different Pierce units. It was definitely too hard for me to do a Rainbow Pierce composition. Like, I probably tried for about an hour, and we kind of decided to give up on it. Mono Lightning, though, pretty easy. Cloud, Ravi's, of course, in here, level 99, just for the bonus. And then, of course, we have Charlotte for lightning resistance down, and 9S here. This was probably the last composition that I made, and it was I would say it was pretty easy. You could probably replace, if you had to, you could replace 9S with O or another lightning slash based unit. The kind of keys here are going to be Cloud and Charlotte. The rest is kind of whatever you can fill in. We didn't even have anyone to lower defense in this composition. I literally just went with slash resistance down from Cloud and lightning resistance down from Charlotte. So you can probably nail down this composition pretty easily. I will go ahead and show off the duo formation, the solo formation, and a couple of the other formations as well here, just so you guys have an understanding of how they kind of function. So let's start off with the duo formation. One thing to know, actually, one key difference between the solo and the duo formation, which is really important, and I'm actually going to point this out right now, is that when you're duoing, make sure that you have Oberon's counter set to counter swing, because his drain counter is actually a piercing based ability. So if your duo partner or your other units actually get into the way, they will actually be victim to Oberon's counter ability, which is terrible because it will literally kill the unit and it will just devastate you. You'll be like, oh no, like, it's bad. So just be aware of that. That's kind of the big difference between the duo and the solo comp. The duo is by far the most reliable. The solo composition, if you can make it more reliable, if your 120 Oberon is like able to push it out just a little bit more, great, good for you. Just make sure you have his purple dragon sub set. You'll see here, of course, they're going to come forward, get a couple hits, and Oberon is just going to LB kill all of them, which is wonderful. So he'll come in, pop his LB, and do his thing, and that's going to lower, of course, all resistance down. Oberon will, of course, as we go through this, lower pierce resistance as well, and Murmur is going to lower defense. So they do make a pretty nasty team. Royal Rend also has a chance to stun from Oberon, and when the stun lands, it is very nice. You can see they're taking a little bit of a beating here. Oberon jumping will almost always hit cap damage. I did consider, potentially changing the vision cards up a bit to maybe increase the damage cap more, but I just kind of left it for now. You can see if you do manage to pull off the defense breaker into the Royal Rend with Murmur, it's a huge amount of damage. Like, Murmur just did 12k damage. We're on turn 10. Like, this duo comp is unstoppable, essentially. It's just a composition that's going to kind of win no matter what, essentially. I don't think I've ever seen this duo comp lose even, and it's one of the easier kind of compositions to set up as well. The solo comp is where you want to be a little bit worried with Oberon, just because he does take a lot of damage, and I haven't seen it fail yet, but if he doesn't get a counter, I imagine the solo comp will fail. And again, he's not 120, he's not perfect, but for me, it's a little too close to where I would be like, I don't really want to farm solo. I want to put my macro on it and be able to forget like what's going on, right? Like, I don't want to have to think about my rating. So for me, it's just a little too close, and I'm a little like, I don't know. It could be possible that if you raise your faith, you're potentially going to be able to solo it because you can land stun more reliably. But I really think you're also going to take more damage from Aigaion. So it's just one of those, like, you know, what do you kind of have to pick your evil. Now I do have the Alphaloculus VC on him and Esper. The Alphaloculus VC, of course, is on him, or the Esper is on him because it has Lightning Eater, Earth Attack Up, and Pierce Attack Up, and Attack Up, which he can all get. So it's quite clearly the best in slot Esper for him. You could probably switch. I almost wonder if you could change his survivability a bit by running, you know, like maybe a paralysis resistant Esper, and then running a little bit more like defensive utility. But basically, this is kind of how it goes, is you come in here with Oberon. Oberon takes a beating, he deals damage, he takes another beating, he jumps, right? And maybe you can time the jumps to like miss and not hit you. But honestly, that's not how it kind of goes. He's gonna lower Earth resistance, Pierce resistance. Like, he's just gonna deal a ton of damage. Again, you can see stun hasn't procced yet. But there's the counter, which will fill his HP full. So now you know this is pretty much going to be a guaranteed clear with this solo comp. So again, it really comes down to that counter and how effective that counter is landing. We are running the crit-based spear on him. It could be worth it to potentially switch to the assault spear. I haven't really looked fully into details in that, especially since he's in a solo situation here. We get another counter for 5,000 damage, which is also huge. Also, you get the Rampaging Riot in the solo, so he's going to get the buff from the Alphaloculus Esper buff, which is very powerful. It also lowers the opponent's Earth resistance. And I've never had it, like, he does do his buff, but I've never had it where Oberon dies because he had done his buff. Now, I have seen other solo compositions where they do use the Astrologer VC for Oberon. I could see that being useful for the acquired AP up, but I think if we're guaranteed critting, it might be better just to keep Alphaloculus on and kind of go with that. The next formation that we worked on was going to be our 4-man composition. I think let's show off Wind, because I think Wind was probably the most, I think everybody understands how a Dark Slash composition works, and I don't need to show that off. It's kind of same with a Rainbow Slash composition. Let's go and show off the Wind composition. Now, this one is a little bit tougher to pull off, but that's not the way I wanted to go. But it is kind of fun to see and fun to experience. And I know there's a lot of people with Tifa, with 2B, with Leela, and they're just like, I don't know how to make this work. I might not have the right Earth composition. And I do know a couple of my guild members who were running Wind composition were actually able to run Wind composition up to level 90, and they had kind of a mediocre Wind team with Leela and Tifa. And 2B, so you may be able to kind of find potentially a like trio combo. And I have heard that there are some trio combos out there with like Tidus, Cloud, and a few others. One of the things that's key here is 1, that Leela kills the ads, and 2, that Varouche is going to come and buff everyone this way. So this gets the slash attack buff on 2B, Tifa, and it gets the buff on Varouche. And you want to make sure that you have your bells and everything else going off. 2B is going to run Impaler a lot, and that's pretty normal. You're basically chaining Wind in this composition. You're not chaining Slash, you're not chaining Pierce. You are chaining Wind attacks, and you'll see Varouche coming in with the cap damage is pretty much a monster. He also gets CT up. So you'll notice just like they are chaining so much right now. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of speed and kind of damage that they're able to deal right now. And you can see Tifa just coming in. Like, Aigaion is so slow currently. He will get faster because he's not going to move, right? So because he doesn't move, he's going to, of course, take his turns a little bit faster, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. We are down to 5 turns, which is a little nerve-wracking, I would say. We did get lucky on a counter here, and sometimes you do need to rely a little bit on getting lucky. This is definitely a different kind of, it's not different in the terms of like it's a different run, but like usually he'll run off to the left. If you have counters, make sure you set ranged counters. You will usually clear by around turn 3. And hopefully some of you that have Wind comp will be able to pull this off. And you might have better luck chaining Slash and Wind. and kind of pulling that off that way. I do think the Dark Slash composition is powerful enough as well, depending on how you pull it off, to actually carry the like other compositions and units through it. So I would say lightning, not fully there, but if you could get like a slash unit that could deal some damage, you might potentially be able to replace Ravi's in here. There are a couple formations that I did see utilizing Glaciella. I tried to utilize Glaciella. My Glaciella is only 99, and I couldn't find like a perfect run or a really good run. I found Glaciella was lagging behind in damage, and I couldn't get her to, you know, fully utilize her buffs. Also, I didn't really have the best Pierce buffing vision cards, and it kind of put me in a weird situation, it felt like. Of course, here, Cloud's positioning is not optimal here, and my TMR layout is not optimal either. So keep that in mind as we're kind of going forward here. You're actually going to see 9S, I believe, target one of the enemies individually here, which is pretty bad. You never really want that to happen in raids. So you can see he literally just stun bladed the opponent, which is never what you want. You always want to hit multiple enemies, but it is what we do, and it is how we clear. Cloud, of course, going to hit cap damage. I do keep cross slash on him, just so that he can hit that damage cap. A lot of people turn that off so that he just uses Braver and his triple slash ability. Charlotte should be lowering lightning resistance. You want that to happen earlier in the fight. I would highly recommend not running Charlotte's LB. I think a lot of times when you run Charlotte's LB, she's going to run out of AP, which can also be problematic. And Ravi's, honestly, is just here to help with the lightning chain. Kind of the same with 9S. The real damage dealers are going to be, you know, between Charlotte and Cloud, mostly being Cloud, right? You can see it's just popping in that huge amount of damage with that triple slash is absolutely disgusting. And even 9S doing about 6k with the Drain Rush and having the support from Charlotte and Cloud dealing cap damage. Like, Cloud had a turn here and we cleared on turn 3 with, you know, lots of opportunity for finishing this. So hopefully this guide is able to help you guys kind of set up your compositions, and maybe you're going to copy a composition from this, which is absolutely fine. Hopefully you are able to clear level 100 on the raid. And I hope you guys, you know, if you have any questions, if you have any compositions that are working for you, I would love to hear about them down in the comments below. There are a lot of people with a lot of different units that don't have access to a wide spread of units. So if you have a composition that you think is going to clear, that's going to really help people, please post it down below. I would love to hear it. And I'm sure there's a lot of viewers who look down the comments and sort that out. Anyway, everybody, if you do want to support me, you can use my affiliate link, dig.gs/coins or dig.gs/offer. Make sure to come and see me. I'm going to be streaming Final Fantasy V Pixel Remaster tomorrow. That'll be Thursday. I'm not sure if I'm doing it morning or late night yet, but I hope to see some of you guys there, and have a great rest of your day.